Hi everyone, and can you believe it? Here we are heading towards summer. So I don't know about you, but I hope we don't have as many stinking hot days and nights as we did last year. And I must admit, I really am thoroughly enjoying these beautiful cool evenings and mostly sunny days. So I'm doing my DEB Talks this month at home with my foot, and if anybody has had plantar fasciitis, they know how painful that is. I just went to have the cortisone injection in my heel, which was also really painful, and I've been told that I need to keep off my feet for a couple of days. They did suggest no standing in the kitchen cooking, so I have deliberately hinted to my husband Gary to let him know that I need to be off my feet for at least a week. So now last month we were fortunate to have part 2 of my talk with David from Creative Communities International, and I hope that you enjoyed that particular chat. And if you didn't get a chance to listen, I'd really recommend that you pop onto his website and look at how he approaches community. He also does have a number of interesting free books and videos available, including a range of programs. So this month, I'd like to talk about how the environment is changing and what that means for the buildings we are designing or renovating. Residents, we all know, have certainly more high care needs than ever before, with many palliative, and of course we still have the challenges with dementia. So are our buildings and spaces keeping up with the changes by offering products that suit our current clients? I believe many spaces or rooms within aged care facilities are no longer fit for purpose, and therefore valuable floor space isn't getting used for its intended purpose because it no longer works, or it is being used as fancy storage space in prime locations. So the needs of residents are changing, and that means a challenge with staff from the point of view of getting them, retaining them, and having enough of them. I've been involved in this industry for over 30 years now, and many years ago, our clients actually offered car bays to residents who could still drive. I still giggle at that now because when I see the type of client that we have in aged care, it's unfathomable to think that people used to drive up to an aged care facility. So residents were also, of course, a lot more independent, albeit maybe with some type of aid, which meant they could make their own way around a facility to a specific location for an event without the help of staff. So this scenario is definitely becoming less and less, if no longer at all, and means far more assistance from staff. So what does that mean? Well, basically it means you don't have the time to do the same amount of varied activities that you used to do, because once upon a time you would have the majority of residents in one location, meaning less need for additional staff, especially lifestyle. So that meant it was possible to do more activities and events for residents. What is happening now are smaller groups in individual houses putting pressure on lifestyle staff's time. So it becomes a vicious circle. Residents are missing out because they need far more assistance. There's less time for staff to accommodate, which means less major events, which of course all makes perfect sense. But how can we address this? Well, we at DEFITIS believe there are a number of ways to tackle the challenge. Firstly, by involving families. And now, look, I can hear you all saying, easier said than done. Most families, hardly visit, and how are they going to be able to assist? And that's absolutely true as it stands currently. But this is where David and DEFITIS have some good ideas about how to engage family in a better way. And also, I will talk a little bit later about how to introduce different things into the resident homes, helping to take the impost off staff. Secondly, which leads on from my first point, do you have spaces or opportunities that are enjoyable and encourage families to come and spend more time? I'm not just talking about a nicely decorated sitting room, because we all know, unfortunately, when visiting a relative in aged care, you do soon run out of conversation, which leads to less and shorter visits. And a nice room really isn't going to cut the mustard. So what will make them want to stay? And what would encourage them to want to and come and visit in the first place? It's about providing something they would ordinarily be doing as part of their general life. So in other words, if it's something they want or need, to do, they can kill two birds with one stone. Visit mum or dad and enjoy a particular activity or event they would normally do, hence visiting more and interacting with their relative. Generally, people feel guilty for not visiting their loved ones, so what can we do to provide something that will be pleasurable for the visitor, meaning spending more time with their relative, which is a win-win for both, and in actual fact, a win-win for staff as well. We've researched and played around with these concepts for some time now, so please feel free to get in touch if you'd like to have a chat about it. Thirdly, can activities be incorporated throughout the home without necessarily having a designated activity room that takes time and energy for staff to transport residents? Whilst it's still vitally important to have spaces in the front of house such as your cafe, hairdresser, wellness clinic, activity or club rooms, these spaces are used mainly as outings for residents and therefore are not necessarily available on a daily basis or a regular basis. So where can you set up spaces that allow residents choice of things to do whenever they choose, or that it's easy for staff to set up quite quickly? It has to be in the residents' homes, but other spaces set up properly to accommodate the activities doesn't have the correct storage or even the correct furniture. So let's look at a simple example. Gyms, wellness rooms, physios, activity rooms are all great and they're very important, but in reality, how often do the residents get to use them? Could we consider incorporating some of the things you normally do in those spaces into the resident's home, where the residents actually live? The fact is you can't afford to incorporate additional rooms to accommodate, so we need to see what is suitable that could be put into existing sitting or lounge rooms or other spaces, including outdoors where possible. Now, our newsletter this month is featuring Turtle Gym. I absolutely love their motto, which is slow movement concept, and I can certainly relate to that. So Turtle Gym have many different types of equipment, and some are obviously only appropriate to put in a gym or a central physio room. But they do have other pieces that could be incorporated through resident areas. For instance, check out the stress relief exercise chair. It is a whole body vertical vibration exercise that is very gentle. Its advanced technology doesn't increase cardiopulmonary load, and it gently stimulates each part of the body. It is touted to relieve stress and give great improvement in sleep quality. It actually looks fantastic, and I certainly wouldn't mind having one in my home. So you could definitely put one or two into a sitting or lounge room for residents to enjoy whenever, and the good thing is it's actually doing them good. The other piece of equipment that took my fancy was the whole body periodic acceleration bed, which could fit perfectly into a sensory space close to staff to keep an eye on the resident. A lot of homes now do have a sensory type space in each resident area. So the idea is basically people lie on a specially designed platform and horizontal vibration is given from the head to the toe at constant frequency that can be obviously controlled and set according to a person's physical condition. The research says that the cells of blood vessels will produce nitric oxide and other physiologically active substances. It's expected to have a great effect on brain cardiovascular protection, and they say it's perfect for residents in long-term bedridden situations, anyone with a disability, and is great for rehabilitation. It also says that it maintains muscle vitality, so it's very much a non-invasive piece of exercise equipment. Looking at it actually in action, if you go on and have a look at it, when I did, it actually made me feel quite sleepy and very relaxed. And I believe it is super comfortable. And, why not think about including it in a semi-outdoor room, for example? Can you imagine laying on something like that, being soothed and feeling the breeze, listening to running water? I call that heaven. So this is just a couple of examples from a physical point of view, but of course there are many other ideas from a general enjoyment and mental point of view as well that could be incorporated throughout a resident's home. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we need to start thinking about our spaces differently within aged care homes. The general front of house is like visiting downtown, and of course is really important in aged care facilities, but what can we incorporate into residents' homes that don't take up a huge amount of staff time but gives something for residents to enjoy both from a physical and also mental point of view on a much more regular basis? And how can we design spaces and incorporate things that are going to attract visitors? So that's it for me this month. I hope you've enjoyed our chat, and hopefully it has sparked a few good ideas. I'm really happy to catch up anytime with any of you and have a chat about some ideas, and perhaps even look at your facility and see what can be done. So have a great November, and see you all again next month. Bye for now.